The alarm screams filled the cockpit. Red lights flashed across every surface. Daeho pulled hard on the controls, but the ship refused to respond. The engine had died completely. Through the viewport, he saw nothing but white and gray. An ice moon, massive and frozen, pulled him down with merciless gravity. He had been hauling medical supplies across the outer sectors. Simple work. Boring work. Then the energy field appeared from nowhere, purple and crackling with power. His instruments went crazy. The ship passed through it before he could react. Everything died. Power, engines, communications, everything. Now he was falling toward a moon he did not recognize. The ship shook violently. Metal groaned and screamed. Daeho strapped himself tighter into the pilot's seat. He had survived worse. He had to survive this. The ship hit the surface hard. The impact threw him forward against the restraints. His head cracked against something solid. Pain exploded through his skull. The ship tumbled, rolling across ice and rock. Metal tore. Glass shattered. Then finally everything stopped moving. Daeho hung upside down in his seat. Blood dripped from his forehead into his eyes. His left arm throbbed with sharp pain, probably broken. His ribs felt wrong when he breathed. The cockpit had filled with smoke and the smell of burning plastic. He hit the restraint release. He fell hard onto what used to be the ceiling. Every part of his body complained. He crawled through the wreckage toward the emergency hatch. It took 3 tries to get it open. When he finally did, freezing air rushed in and stole his breath. Outside, the world was white and gray and deadly cold. Wind screamed across an endless plain of ice. In the distance, massive rocks jutted up like broken teeth. The sky above showed 2 moons, one large and one small, both rising toward each other. Daeho pulled himself out of the wreck. His survival suit activated automatically, providing some warmth, but it was damaged. Cracks ran across the chest piece. The heater sputtered. He would freeze to death out here in hours, maybe less. He tried to activate his emergency beacon. The device was crushed, completely destroyed. No one was coming. No one even knew he was here. The wind pushed him sideways. He looked around for shelter. The rocky formations in the distance offered his only hope. He started walking. Each step hurt. His broken arm hung useless at his side. Blood continued to drip from his head wound, freezing on his face. He walked for what felt like hours. The cold seeped through his damaged suit. His fingers went numb. His legs moved slower and slower. The rocks never seemed to get closer. Maybe they were not as near as they looked. Maybe he would die out here in the white emptiness. Then he saw the cave entrance, large and dark, cut into the base of a massive rock formation. He stumbled toward it. His vision blurred. He fell twice. The second time, he barely managed to get back up. The cave mouth yawned before him like a hungry throat. Warm air came from within. That made no sense. Caves should be cold. But Daeho was beyond caring about sense. He stumbled inside and collapsed. Darkness took him. When he woke, he was not alone. The creatures stood around him in a circle. They were tall, at least 3 meters high. Their bodies were covered in blue scales that caught the light like crystals. Their heads were reptilian, with long snouts full of sharp teeth. Their eyes glowed with a cold, pale light. They had 4 arms, each ending in clawed hands. Daeho tried to move. Pain shot through his entire body. He was lying on something soft, not the cave floor. They had moved him. One of the creatures stepped forward. It was larger than the others, with darker scales and a crest of ice-blue spines along its head and back. It leaned down, studying him with those glowing eyes. Something clicked near Daeho's ear, a small device placed there while he was unconscious. Suddenly, the creature's sounds became words in his mind. "You live," the creature said. Its voice was female, cold and smooth like ice sliding over glass. "Good, I need you alive." "Where?" Daeho's voice came out as a croak. His throat was dry. "My home. My clan's breeding cave." The creature straightened. "I am Narration, matriarch of this brood. You crashed on my territory." Daeho tried to sit up. His broken arm screamed in protest. Narration watched but did not help. "You will train my offspring," she said. It was not a request. 7 young who must pass their trial in 40 days. They are strong, but strength alone is not enough. I need them to be more. "I'm not a trainer," Daeho managed to say. "I'm just a pilot." "You lie poorly." Narration moved around him in a slow circle. "I accessed your ship's database. Your military records. Special operations. Tactical command. You turned a massacre into a victory through strategy and adaptation. You taught soldiers to survive impossible situations. Daeho felt ice in his stomach that had nothing to do with the cold. That was years ago. Another life. Skills do not fade. Urashin stopped in front of him. My young are strong predators. Fast, deadly, with good instincts, but they fight like animals. No strategy, no coordination, no thinking. In the trial, they will face unknown enemies. Without your training, they will die. And if I refuse? Urashin's mouth opened in what might have been a smile. It showed rows of crystalline teeth. Then I will let you walk back into the ice with your broken body. You will die slowly, cold as a patient killer. Daeho looked at her, at the other creatures watching from the shadows, at the cave walls that dripped with frozen moisture. And if I agree? You will train them. Teach them to think, to plan, to fight with minds as sharp as their claws. If you succeed, I will repair your ship. You will leave with your life. If you fail, the smile widened. If at dawn of the trial day my offspring are still weak, you will become their first true hunt. They will learn what it means to kill thinking prey. The words hung in the air like ice crystals. How do I know you'll keep your word? Daeho asked. You do not, Urashin said simply. But you have no choice. Train them well, human. Make them strong. Make them smart, or die knowing you failed. She turned and walked deeper into the cave. The other creatures followed, their claws clicking on stone. Daeho lay there, broken and trapped on an ice moon light years from anywhere. He had 40 days to teach alien predators how to think. 40 days to make himself too valuable to kill. He closed his eyes and began to plan. It was what he did best. It was what had kept 300 soldiers alive against 10,000 enemies. It would have to be enough. From somewhere deep in the cave he heard sounds. Growling, clicking, fighting. The young ones testing each other, competing. His future students. His potential executioners. Daeho opened his eyes and stared at the ice-covered ceiling. 40 days. The count had begun. She saved me to train her brood. Her smile was ice. By dawn, make them strong or be their feast. 3 days passed before Daeho could stand without help. Urashin had her medical drones tend to his injuries. They set his broken arm, sealed his wounds, and gave him something that dulled the pain. But she made it clear that he would receive no special treatment beyond basic healing. On the 4th day, she brought him to meet the brood. The chamber was enormous, carved from solid ice that glowed with blue light. 7 creatures waited there, smaller than Urashin but still much larger than Daeho. They were juveniles by their species standards, but each one could tear him apart easily. These are my offspring, Urashin said. Her voice through the translator carried no warmth, no motherly affection. Learn them, understand them, then make them better. She left him there alone with the 7 young predators. They circled him slowly. Their eyes glowed with curiosity and hunger. Daeho stood very still, watching each one, reading their body language. Years of tactical training had taught him to assess threats quickly. The largest one stepped forward first. His scales were darker than the others, almost navy blue. His movements showed confidence, dominance. This one was used to being in charge. I am Cal, he said through the mental link. His voice was deep and dismissive. You're small, weak, you cannot teach us anything. Daeho said nothing. He kept watching. Another one moved closer, this one lighter in color with quicker movements. Intelligence showed in those glowing eyes. I am Rin, she said. Mother says you are a warrior. You do not look like one. Looks can be useful, Daeho replied calmly. Enemies underestimate what they think is weak. A third one growled low in his throat. His scales bore fresh scars from recent fights. This one was aggressive, always looking for combat. I am Teo. I do not need your teaching. I am already strong. Strength without control is just violence, Daeho said. Violence without purpose is waste. Teo's growl deepened, but he did not attack. The smallest one moved with incredible speed, circling Daeho so fast she was almost a blur. Female like Rin, but built for pure velocity. Hana, she said simply. You are injured. Easy prey. The best prey, Daeho replied, is the one that thinks it has already won. 2 more approached together. One moved carefully, studying everything. The other seemed to watch how his siblings interacted before committing to any action. Bora, said the careful one. Sung, said the observer. Finally, the youngest came forward. His movements were still awkward, not yet fully coordinated, but his eyes were sharp, taking in everything. Minho, he said quietly. Mother says you will teach us to think. I want to learn. Daeho felt something shift in the room. The others looked at Minho with varying degrees of contempt. The weak one accepting help. In their culture, that was shameful. Good, Daeho said to Minho. Wanting to learn is the first step to survival. Cal snorted. We do not need to learn. We need to hunt, to kill, to prove our strength. And how do you hunt? Daeho asked. We chase, we catch, we tear apart, Cal's teeth showed. It is simple. Show me. For the next 3 days, Daeho watched them. He studied how they moved, how they fought, how they thought. Yurishin provided captured prey animals, small ice creatures that the young ones hunted through the cave system. What he saw confirmed his fears. They were magnificent predators, fast and deadly, but they had no coordination, no strategy. They competed with each other rather than working together. Cal dominated through pure strength, taking the best kills for himself. The others fought for scraps of status. When they cornered prey, they simply rushed in, relying on speed and power. Against other animals, it worked. Against intelligent enemies with weapons and tactics, they would die. Daeho took notes on a salvaged data pad from his ship. He wrote down each one's strengths and weaknesses. Cal was strong but arrogant. Rin was intelligent but held back by the pack hierarchy. Tayo was aggressive but predictable. Hana was fast but reckless. Bora was strategic-minded but unsure. Sung was observant but passive. Minho was eager but inexperienced. On the 7th day, Daeho decided to begin real training. He gathered them in the large chamber and explained basic flanking tactics using the ice formations as a map. How to approach prey from multiple directions, how to cut off escape routes, how to use the environment for advantage. Tayo interrupted him mid-sentence. Enough talking, the aggressive one snarled. Show us this is useful, fight me. Prove you are worth listening to. Daeho had been expecting this. In a species built on dominance, someone would challenge him. He had hoped for more time to prepare. I do not want to fight you, Daeho said calmly. Because you are weak, Tayo charged. The young creature moved with terrifying speed. Claws extended, jaws open, ready to tear the human apart. Daeho had 1 second to react. He dove sideways, rolling across the ice. Tayo's claws scraped the ground where he had been standing. Daeho scrambled behind an ice formation. Tayo turned and charged again. For the next several minutes, Daeho ran. He used the chamber's natural formations for cover. He slid across smooth ice patches. He climbed up rocky sections where Tayo's larger body could not easily follow. He kept obstacles between himself and the pursuing predator. Tayo grew more enraged with each missed attack. He smashed through ice barriers. He leaped over rocks. But he could not catch the smaller, more agile human. The other young ones watched with growing interest. Even Cal's dismissive expression changed to something resembling curiosity. Finally, Tayo cornered Daeho against a wall. The predator approached slowly, confidently. Victory was certain. Nowhere left to run, little prey. Tayo growled. Daeho stood very still. Then he smiled. I was never running, he said. I was leading. He pressed his back against the wall. A hidden trigger he had set earlier. The ice formation above Tayo cracked. Daeho had weakened it deliberately during his preparations, knowing someone would challenge him. Chunks of ice crashed down. Tayo dodged most of them, but his moment of distraction was enough. Daeho moved fast and precise, sliding between the falling debris and coming up behind Tayo. He pulled a sharp piece of metal from his belt, salvaged from his ship. He pressed it against the back of Tayo's neck, right where the scales were thinnest. In a real fight, Daeho said quietly, you would be dead right now. Not because I am stronger. Because I thought ahead, I prepared. I used your rage against you. Tayo froze. The other 6 young ones stared. From the shadows, Yurishin watched. Her cold smile grew wider. Daeho stepped back, lowering his weapon. This is what I will teach you. Not how to be stronger. You are already strong. I will teach you to think, to plan, to win against enemies who might be stronger, faster, or better armed. I will teach you to survive. He looked at each of them in turn. In 40 days, you face your trial. Unknown enemies. Unknown challenges. Your strength alone will not be enough, but your minds combined with your strength can make you unstoppable. Cal stepped forward, the largest, the dominant one, the one who had dismissed Daeho as worthless. You made Tayo look foolish, Cal said slowly, using tricks, deception. I used strategy, Daeho corrected. The difference between tricks and tactics is whether they work. Cal stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly the young predator lowered his head slightly, not a full submission, but acknowledgement. Teach us, Cal said. The others echoed the sentiment, even Tayo. Though the aggressive one looked humiliated, Deho felt the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. The first real hurdle was passed. They would listen now. Whether they would learn was another question entirely. Tomorrow, he said, real training begins. Rest tonight, eat well, because I will push you harder than you have ever been pushed before. As they dispersed, Minho approached Deho quietly. That was clever, the youngest said, using the environment, making him chase you until he was tired and angry. You saw that? Deho asked. I watched everything, Minho replied. Mother says I'm too weak. Too young. But I can learn. I will learn. Deho looked at the young one and saw determination in those glowing eyes. Then I will teach you, he said. All of you. 36 days remained. She saved me to train her brood. Her smile was ice. By dawn, make them strong, or be their feast. The training began at dawn. Deho divided the cave system into different zones, each designed to teach specific skills. The brood complained at first. They were predators born to hunt. Why waste time on exercises and drills? Deho showed them why on the third day. He released 6 prey animals into the cave system, small but quick creatures. The brood hunted them using their old methods, pure instinct and speed. They caught 5 of the 6, but the hunting took hours. They fought among themselves over kills. They wasted energy. They made noise that scared prey away. Then Deho made them hunt the same type of animal again, but this time using the coordinated tactics he had taught them. They caught all 6 animals in less than an hour with no fighting, no wasted effort. Efficiency, Deho explained. In the trial, you will face multiple challenges. If you waste energy on early fights, you will die in later ones. Every movement must have purpose. Cal had been the hardest to convince. The dominant one resisted pack tactics because they required him to follow plans rather than simply impose his will through strength. But even Cal began to see the value when his solo hunts took twice as long as coordinated efforts. Rin absorbed the lessons fastest. Her intelligence combined with her natural abilities made her an ideal student. She began anticipating tactics before Deho fully explained them. You think like a strategist, Deho told her one day.
That is rare.
Use it. Tayo remained aggressive and difficult, but Deho channeled that aggression into controlled strikes. He taught the young predator when to attack and, more importantly, when to wait. Patience was the hardest lesson for Tayo. Hana's speed made her perfect for hit-and-run tactics. Deho trained her to strike fast and retreat faster, to be a blur that enemies could not pin down. She loved this style of fighting. It matched her nature. Bora's careful mind made her the best at reading terrain and planning approaches. Deho worked with her on tactical positioning, teaching her to see battlefields as puzzles to solve. Sung proved to be the glue that held the pack together. He learned everyone's strengths and weaknesses, coordinating their movements naturally. Deho made him the communication hub during group exercises. Minho, the youngest, struggled physically. He was not as fast as Hana, not as strong as Cal, but he watched everything with sharp attention. He learned from everyone's mistakes and successes. Deho spent extra time with him, teaching him how to compensate for physical limitations with better positioning and timing. 2 weeks passed. The brood improved dramatically, but Yureshin tested them constantly. One day she withheld Deho's food. He continued training despite growing hunger, his stomach cramping, his energy fading. The brood noticed but said nothing at first. On the 3rd day of no food, Hana quietly brought him some of her own rations. Deho refused. I need to be able to teach even when conditions are bad, he said. Your trial will not wait for perfect circumstances. Hana stared at him, then nodded slowly. She understood. Yureshin ended the fast that evening. The cold smile on her face told Deho this had been another test. Testing his commitment. Testing whether hunger would break his focus. Another time, Yureshin deliberately injured him during a demonstration. Her claws raked across his leg, deep cuts that bled heavily. The medical drones sealed the wounds, but walking became painful. Training became agony. Deho adjusted. He taught from seated positions. He used diagrams drawn in ice. He made the brood demonstrate techniques to each other while he provided verbal guidance. The injury did not stop the lessons. Why do you not rest? Mino asked him one evening. Because in 23 days you face your trial, Deho replied, wrapping fresh bandages around his leg. Every day of training I miss is a day you are less prepared. I can rest when you are ready, or when I am dead. The young ones exchanged looks. Something in their eyes changed. Respect, perhaps, or understanding that this human cared whether they lived or died. The hardest test came in the 3rd week. Urashin turned 2 of the brood against Deho temporarily. Sung and Bora suddenly refused to follow his instructions. They challenged every suggestion, disrupted training exercises, and encouraged the others to ignore him. It was psychological warfare, breaking the trust he had built. For 3 days, training fell apart. The pack fractured. Old competitive behaviors returned. Fights broke out. Deho did not fight back against Sung and Bora. Instead, he focused on the other 5. He worked with them individually, showing them how much they had improved. He demonstrated the difference between their abilities now versus 3 weeks ago. Then, during a group exercise, he set up a scenario where Sung and Bora's non-cooperation caused the entire pack to fail a simulated hunt. The failure was obvious, undeniable. This is what happens when the pack breaks, Deho said quietly to Sung and Bora. Not just you fail. Everyone fails. In the trial, that means everyone dies. Sung and Bora looked at each other, then at their siblings. Urashin's test had made its point. The next day, they returned to training with renewed focus. The pack was stronger for having been broken and rebuilt. As the days passed, genuine bonds formed despite the danger. Rin began asking Deho about human tactics, about wars fought on distant worlds. She was fascinated by strategies used against overwhelming odds. Humans are physically weak, she observed one day. How did your species survive against stronger predators? We thought faster, Deho replied. We cooperated better. We made tools. We adapted to every environment. Physical strength matters, but mental flexibility matters more. Hana showed him where edible fungi grew in the deeper caves when Urashin withheld his rations again. She did it secretly, not wanting to seem weak by showing care for prey species. Minho followed Deho constantly, practicing moves repeatedly, seeking approval. The youngest was desperate to prove himself worthy despite his physical limitations. Even Cal, the proud dominant one, began listening more and challenging less. He saw how tactics multiplied his natural strength. He learned that leading through strategy was more effective than leading through intimidation alone. Only Teo remained distant and difficult. The aggressive one participated in training but with obvious resentment. He saw tactics as cowardice, as avoiding direct confrontation. Deho worried about this. In the trial, Teo's recklessness could get them all killed. One evening, Deho pulled Teo aside for private training. You hate me, Deho said simply. You think I am making you weak. You teach running, hiding, trickery. Teo's voice held contempt. These are not warrior skills. A dead warrior is not a warrior, Deho replied. He is just meat. The trial does not care about honor. It cares about survival. Your siblings need you alive, not brave and dead. My siblings are weak because of you, Teo snarled. Before we fought with pure strength. Now they hesitate. They think too much, and they will live because of it, Deho said firmly. You can hate me. You can reject every lesson. But when the trial comes, will your pride be worth watching your siblings die? Teo went very still. His glowing eyes locked with Deho's. You care if we live, the young predator said slowly, as if realizing something. Why, we are not your kind. We would kill you if Mother commanded it. Because I am a teacher, Deho said. And teachers want their students to succeed. That is what we do. Teo said nothing more that night. But the next day, his participation in training changed. He still fought aggressively, still preferred direct confrontation, but he started listening to tactical suggestions. He started coordinating with his siblings instead of just dominating them. It was progress. 20 days had passed since Deho had crashed on this frozen moon. 20 days of brutal training, constant testing, and gradual transformation. The brood moved differently now. They thought before attacking. They worked as a unit. They had become something more than simple predators. But were they ready? Deho watched them during practice hunts and felt doubt gnaw at him. The trial would be harder than anything they had faced. Unknown enemies, unknown challenges, real death. In the shadows, Narration watched with her cold smile. She never praised, never encouraged. She only observed and tested. Daeho could not read her. Did she think they were improving? Or was she already planning how her offspring would hunt him down when they failed? 20 days remained until dawn. The real test was still to come. She saved me to train her brood. Her smile was ice. By dawn, make them strong or be their feast. Rin got injured during a practice session. A mistake in timing, a miscalculated jump, and she landed badly on sharp ice. Her leg bled from a deep cut. Daeho helped her to the medical area, applying pressure to the wound while the drones prepared treatment. As he worked, his hands touched older scars on her scales. Training scars, precise and deliberate. He had noticed them before but thought they came from sibling fights. Now looking closer, he saw patterns. These were teaching wounds, carefully placed to show consequences of mistakes. His blood went cold. "How long have you been training?" he asked quietly. Rin looked at him with those glowing eyes. "This is our second cycle of training season," she said. "Mother brings teachers. They try to prepare us. Where are the other teachers?" Rin pointed deeper into the cave system. 3 died during training. 2 ran into the ice. Their frozen bodies are beyond the western ridge. 1 lasted almost to the trial day. Tayo killed him during practice. Daeho felt his hands shake. He forced them to stay steady as he finished treating Rin's wound. "Why did your mother not tell me this?" "She did not need to," Rin replied. "You are the 7th. Each teacher brings something new. A Corvan warrior taught us basic combat moves. A Thess spy taught us how to hide and move silently. A human mercenary taught us about weapons. You teach us to think strategically. Mother collects lessons from each teacher. And when they fail, then we learn from their deaths too." Rin said it without emotion. Simple fact. Failure is the final lesson. That night, Daeho confronted Narration in her chamber. The massive predator sat on a throne carved from solid ice. She watched him approach with calm amusement. "You lied to me," Daeho said, anger burning through his fear. "You said you needed me to train them. You never said I was just the latest in a line of dead teachers." "I did not lie," Narration replied smoothly. "I do need you to train them. The others failed because they taught isolated skills. Combat, stealth, weapons use. None of them understood what I truly seek, which is adaptability." She rose from her throne, towering over him. "The trial does not present known challenges. It presents the unknown, creatures my offspring have never seen, situations they have never encountered, enemies that fight in unexpected ways. My brood can learn combat moves and weapon techniques. But can they learn to think? Can they face the completely new and survive?" She circled him slowly, her claws clicking on ice. "The other teachers failed because they taught their students to be like them. The Corvan taught Corvan tactics. The Thess taught Thess methods. But in the trial, my offspring do not face Corvan or Thess. They face chaos. They face the unexpected. That requires a different kind of teaching. So you want me to teach them to improvise? To adapt?" "I want you to teach them to be survivors," Narration said. "Your military record showed something unique. A mission that went completely wrong. Every plan failed. Every advantage lost. You were supposed to die with 300 soldiers killed by 10,000 enemies. But you did not follow the plan. You did not fight the way you were trained. You improvised. You adapted. You turned certain death into unlikely victory." Daeho remembered that day. The mission to hold a bridge. The intelligence that proved completely wrong. The enemy forces that outnumbered them 30 to 1. The moment when every strategy broke down and all that remained was creative desperation. "I got lucky," he said quietly. "No." Narration's eyes gleamed. "You got creative. You used the environment in ways your enemy did not expect. You turned your weaknesses into advantages. You made your soldiers think beyond their training. That is what I need you to teach my offspring. Not tactics, not moves, but the ability to think when everything goes wrong." She stopped in front of him, her massive form radiating cold power. "That is why you are Teacher 7, and why you will be the last one way or another. Either you succeed and my brood learns true adaptability, or you fail and they die in the trial. After that, there is no point in trying again. This generation will be lost." "No pressure then," Daeho said bitterly. "Oh, there is more pressure." Narration's cold smile widened. "I have invited other matriarchs to witness the trial. They will bring their own broods, their own offspring who have passed or are preparing for their trials. It is a great honor. But it also means if my brood fails publicly, my status in the clan falls. I will have no reason to honor our bargain. In fact, I will likely let the other matriarchs' broods hunt both you and my failed offspring. A spectacle to restore my standing. Daeho felt the weight of it all crash down on him, not just his survival at stake. Not just 7 young predators, but political consequences, clan status, and the attention of other alien matriarchs with their own deadly broods. You are insane, he whispered. I am ambitious, Urashin corrected. My brood will be legendary or they will be dead. There is no middle path, and you, little human, are the key to which future comes to pass. She turned away from him, settling back onto her throne. 16 days remain. I suggest you make them count. Daeho left her chamber feeling like the ice moon itself pressed down on his chest. Back in the training area, the brood waited for their evening session. They looked at him with trust now, expecting him to make them ready for the trial. They did not know about the 6 teachers who came before. They did not know about the matriarchs coming to watch. They only knew they had 16 days left and a human trainer who seemed confident. Daeho felt anything but confident. That night, he changed his training approach. No more simple coordinated tactics. No more predictable exercises. He began throwing chaos at them. He would start a training scenario, then change the rules mid-exercise. He introduced unexpected obstacles. He created situations with no clear solution, forcing them to improvise. He made them swap roles randomly so Cal had to be fast like Hana, and Hana had to think strategically like Bora. The brood hated it. They failed repeatedly. They grew frustrated and confused. Why are you changing everything? Cal demanded after a particularly disastrous exercise. We were improving. Now you make us fail on purpose because the trial will not be fair, Daeho explained. It will not follow rules. Your enemies will not fight the way you expect. The terrain will not be what you prepare for. I need you to be ready for anything, including things you cannot prepare for. That makes no sense, Tayo growled. How can we prepare for what we cannot prepare for? By learning to think clearly when everything goes wrong, Daeho replied. By staying calm in chaos, by trusting each other even when plans fail. That is adaptability. That is survival. He ran them through drill after drill, each one designed to break their expectations. Hunts where the prey turned and attacked. Tactical scenarios where the terrain collapsed mid-fight. Coordination exercises where he randomly removed one of them from the pack, forcing the others to adjust instantly. It was brutal, exhausting. They came to hate these final weeks of training. But slowly, something changed. They stopped expecting things to go according to plan. They started adjusting to chaos instinctively. When Daeho threw a new obstacle at them, they adapted faster each time. Rin began creating backup plans for every scenario. Bora started reading changes in the environment and warning others. Tsang developed hand signals for rapid communication when verbal links failed. Even Teo learned to redirect his aggression when his initial attack was blocked. Minho, the youngest, surprised everyone. His physical limitations forced him to constantly adapt. He became the best at thinking 3 steps ahead, at preparing for unexpected changes. The others began looking to him during chaotic scenarios. You are getting better, Daeho told them after 10 days of chaos training. Not perfect, but better. The trial will test you in ways I cannot imagine. But now you know how to face the unimaginable. Cal approached him privately that night. The dominant one had changed the most. His arrogance had transformed into quiet confidence. You push us harder than you did before, Cal observed. Something changed. What are you not telling us? Daeho considered lying, then decided they deserved truth. Other matriarchs are coming to watch your trial, he said. Your mother's status depends on your success. And I am the 7th teacher she has brought. The others all failed. Cal was silent for a long moment. Then he made a sound that might have been laughter. So we succeed or everyone dies. You, us, maybe mother's position in the clan? Yes. Good. Cal's eyes gleamed. Low stakes are boring. We will show these other matriarchs what true predators look like. His confidence was infectious. Or maybe just insane. Daeho was not sure which. 6 days remained until dawn. She saved me to train her brood. Her smile was ice. By dawn, make them strong and be their feast. 3 days before the trial, everything almost fell apart. Daeho had set up a complex simulation in the largest cave chamber. The scenario involved multiple enemies attacking from different directions, forcing the brood to coordinate defensive positions while maintaining offensive pressure. It was the most complicated exercise yet, combining everything they had learned. The pack moved into position. Bora called out formations. Sung coordinated timing. Cal anchored the center. Everything proceeded according to plan for the first 3 minutes. Then the simulated enemies changed tactics, flanking from an unexpected angle. Daeho had programmed this shift to test their adaptation. The pack needed to rotate formation quickly with Hana and Rin covering the new approach while Cal repositioned. Cal refused. Hold center, he commanded the others. We can defend from here. The formation is breaking, Bora warned. We need to rotate, I said hold. Cal's voice carried the weight of dominance, the old instinct to lead through force rather than strategy. The simulation continued. The enemies exploited the formation break. Within seconds, Hana was in trouble, surrounded with no support. She tried to fight alone, too proud to call for retreat. A simulated enemy strike caught her from behind. In a real fight, she would have died. The simulation ended. Hana lay on the ice, breathing hard, glowing eyes wide with the knowledge of her failure. The others stood in stunned silence. Daeho said nothing at first. He let the weight of what happened settle on them. Finally, Cal spoke. It was a bad plan. I made the right choice holding center. You made the choice that got Hana killed, Daeho replied quietly. And you made it because of pride, not tactics. I am the strongest, I lead. That is our way. Your way gets everyone dead, Daeho's voice hardened. In 3 days you face real enemies. They will not care that you are the strongest. They will find your weakness and exploit it. Right now your weakness is pride. Cal's scales bristled. You dare challenge me? I dare tell you truth. Daeho stepped forward knowing this could go very wrong. You have learned so much. You have become a true tactical fighter. But when it matters most, you fall back on dominance instead of strategy. That will kill you. Worse, it will kill your siblings. The other 6 watched in tense silence. This was the moment that would define everything. Either Cal would accept the lesson, or he would tear Daeho apart and end all training. Cal moved forward slowly. His forearms flexed, claws extending. His teeth showed in a predator's smile. You think you can teach me this lesson? You who I could break with one hand? Probably, Daeho agreed. But I challenge you anyway. 5 minutes. If you can catch me in open combat using only your strength, I will never question you again. But if I survive 5 minutes using everything I have taught you, you will listen to pack tactics without question. The other matriarch's offspring would arrive tomorrow to observe final preparations. Narration would be watching. This was possibly the worst time for this confrontation. But it had to happen now. Cal had to break or they would all fail. Narration's voice echoed through the chamber. She had been watching from the shadows as always. I permit this challenge, she said coldly. Let us see what my offspring have truly learned. The brood cleared the chamber. Daeho and Cal faced each other across the ice. 5 minutes, Cal said. Then you die. Or you learn, Daeho replied. Cal charged. What followed was a desperate dance of survival. Daeho used every trick, every tactic, every lesson he had taught them. He used flashbang charges made from salvaged ship components, blinding Cal temporarily. He used the ice formations for cover and misdirection. He laid traps using unstable ice sections. He exploited Cal's rage, goading him into mistakes with well-timed comments. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Cal adapted, learning from each mistake. That was the terrifying thing. Even in rage, he was learning. He stopped falling for the same trick twice. He began predicting Daeho's movements. 4 minutes. Cal was closing in. Daeho was running out of space, out of tricks, out of time. At 4 minutes and 30 seconds, Cal had him cornered. No escape routes. No tricks left. The young predator approached slowly, confidently. I have learned your lessons, teacher, Cal said. I adapted. I overcame. Now you die. Look up, Daeho said. Cal looked up. The ice formation above him, weakened by charges Daeho had placed at the start of the fight, cracked with perfect timing. Tons of ice crashed down. Cal tried to dodge but was too close, too committed to his attack vector. The ice pinned him, not fatally but completely. He could not move. Daeho approached, exhausted and shaking. He pulled a sharp metal shard from his belt and pressed it against Cal's throat. 5 minutes, he said quietly. I survived. Not because I am stronger. Because I prepared. Because I used strategy. Because I made you think you had won before I actually lost. He stepped back, dropping the metal shard. In the trial, your enemies will do the same to you. They will study your patterns. They will exploit your confidence. They will make you think you are winning right until you die. You must think beyond the immediate fight. You must adapt not just to what is happening, but to what might happen. Cal lay under the ice, unable to move. His glowing eyes stared at Deho. Something shifted in that gaze. Understanding, acceptance. When the others freed him, Cal did something that shocked everyone. He exposed his throat to Deho, the complete submission gesture in their culture. I will listen, Cal said. Teach me to think beyond my strength. The breakthrough rippled through the entire brood. If Cal could submit to strategy, they all could. That night, training became truly unified. No more individual glory. No more competition. Just 7 siblings learning to survive together. The next 2 days transformed them. Deho pushed them through scenario after scenario, each one designed to break their expectations and force adaptation. They failed sometimes, but they learned from every failure. Hana learned to call for help instead of fighting alone. Tayo learned to redirect aggression into tactical strikes. Bora gained confidence in her strategic calls. Sung perfected his coordination. Rin began thinking 3 moves ahead in every situation. Minho developed an instinct for predicting enemy actions, and Cal learned to lead through strategy rather than just dominance. He became the anchor point that held the pack together while trusting others to make tactical calls. They became something rare among their species. A truly unified pack, strong individually but devastating together. Other matriarchs arrived with their broods to observe. Massive adult predators filled the cave system, brought their own offspring to witness the trial. Some of these young ones had already passed their trials. Others were preparing for future attempts. They watched Urashin's brood during final training exercises. Deho felt their eyes on his students, judging, evaluating, finding weaknesses. That night, Urashin summoned him. Tomorrow is the trial, she said. The twin moons will align at dawn. My offspring will face their test. You will watch from my platform. You may not help. You may not communicate. You will simply witness whether your teaching was sufficient. They are ready, Deho said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Perhaps, Urashin's cold smile showed, or perhaps they will die and you will follow shortly after. We will know at dawn. Deho returned to the brood for final words. They gathered around him, these 7 predators who had become his students, his responsibility, almost his family. I have taught you everything I can, he said. Tomorrow you face the unknown. Trust your training. Trust each other. Adapt to whatever comes, and survive. What happens to you if we fail? Minho asked quietly. That does not matter, Deho replied. What matters is that you succeed. Not for me. Not for your mother. For yourselves. Because you are survivors. I have seen it in you. Tomorrow show everyone else, Cal stepped forward, the proud, dominant one who had learned to be more than just strong. We will not fail, he said. Not because of pride. Because we are ready. You made us ready. The others echoed agreement. Standing there, looking at them, Deho felt something unexpected. Hope. Not for himself, but for them. They had grown beyond simple predators. They had become warriors who thought tomorrow would reveal if that was enough. One day remained until dawn. She saved me to train her brood. Her smile was ice. By dawn, make them strong, or be their feast. Dawn arrived cold and clear. The twin moons hung in the sky, beginning their slow alignment. The trial would last until they met perfectly, about 8 hours from now. Deho stood on Urashin's observation platform overlooking a massive frozen canyon. Other matriarchs occupied their own platforms around the arena, massive predators watching with cold interest. Their offspring stood beside them, some barely younger than adults, all dangerous. The arena itself was enormous, several kilometers across. Different zones showed varying terrain: open ice fields, rocky outcrops, underground tunnel systems, frozen lakes with thin ice. Each zone could hide different challenges. Below, Urashin's brood entered the arena. 7 young predators, scales gleaming in the dawn light. They moved together in formation, no longer competing with each other but functioning as a unit. Everything Deho had taught them would be tested now. Urashin stood beside him, massive and silent. Her cold smile never wavered. The first wave begins, she said. The ice at the far end of the arena cracked open. Creatures poured out, chittering and clicking. They were insectoid, about 2 meters tall, with 4 legs and 2 arms ending in blade-like claws. Their bodies were armored in dark green carapace, 20 of them, moving in loose formation. Kresh raiders, Narration explained. Aggressive, moderate intelligence, experienced fighters. A warm-up challenge. Deho watched as the Kresh rushed toward the brood. His students had seconds to assess and react. Bora's voice rang out first, calling formations. The pack split as practiced, Cal and Minho holding center while the others flanked. The Kresh saw the split and divided their own forces to match. Wrong move. The brood had counted on that. Hana and Teo struck from the sides with lightning speed, not to engage but to drive the Kresh groups toward each other. The insectoid warriors collided in confusion. In that moment of chaos, Rin and Sung hit from the flanks while Cal and Minho drove forward through the center. The Kresh tried to reform, but the brood gave them no time. Coordinated strikes, flowing movements, each member knowing exactly where the others were. When 3 Kresh tried to circle Hana, she did not fight alone. She led them directly into Tayo's ambush. When the Kresh commander tried to rally his forces, Bora had already predicted the location and positioned Cal to intercept. The commander fell and the remaining Kresh broke in panic. 47 minutes. All 20 Kresh defeated with only minor injuries to the brood. Deho released a breath he had not realized he was holding. First wave complete. Adequate, Narration said. Nothing more. The brood regrouped in the center of the arena, checking injuries, preparing for the next challenge. They looked confident. Deho worried that confidence would become overconfidence. The second wave came without warning. The frozen lake surface cracked. 3 massive shapes emerged from below, each one as large as an adult predator. They were covered in white fur that made them nearly invisible against the ice. Their bodies were long and serpentine with multiple legs, their mouths open to show rows of crystalline teeth. Stalker beasts, Narration said, native to this moon. Perfect ambush predators. The brood has never faced these before. The stalkers moved with terrifying speed low to the ground, using the terrain to mask their approach. The brood could barely see them against the white landscape. Sung took a massive hit within the first minute. A stalker appeared from behind an ice formation and struck him hard, sending him flying. He landed badly, injured and stunned. The pack formation broke. This was different from the Kresh. These creatures were not fighting with tactics. They were pure predators using environment and speed. Deho watched Hana make a critical decision. She remembered his lessons about environmental advantages. The frozen lake where the stalkers emerged had areas of thin ice. She deliberately ran across one of those areas, light and fast. When the pursuing stalker followed, its heavier weight cracked through. The creature fell into freezing water, thrashing and weakening, 1 down. The other 2 stalkers recognized the danger and adapted, avoiding the lake. They circled the brood, looking for weaknesses. They identified Minho as the smallest, the easiest target. Both stalkers converged on him. Deho's hands gripped the platform railing. This was the critical moment. Would Minho panic? Would the others abandon him to save themselves? Minho did something unexpected. He ran. Not random panic, but deliberate tactical retreat, exactly as Deho had taught. In their culture, retreat meant shame. But Minho led the stalkers directly into prepared positions where his siblings waited in ambush. Teo and Cal struck together, pinning one stalker, while Rin delivered killing strikes to vulnerable points. The last stalker tried to escape, but Bora had already positioned herself to cut off retreat. The entire brood collapsed on it in coordinated fury. It was not elegant. It was brutal and effective. 1 hour and 12 minutes. 3 stalkers defeated. Sung was badly hurt but alive. They had suffered real damage but survived. Deho saw respect in some of the watching matriarch's eyes. This brood was showing real capability, but the trial was far from over. The third wave emerged from the tunnel systems. Soldiers in combat armor carrying energy weapons. They were reptilian but not like the brood species. Vryn mercenaries, experienced warriors who had fought across multiple worlds. 10 of them, organized and disciplined. Their commander immediately assessed the arena and began calling orders. They took defensive positions in the rocky outcrops using high ground and cover. This was different. This was actual warfare against intelligent, experienced opponents. The brood tried their standard flanking tactics. The Vryn countered easily, having seen the maneuver through observation. They focused fire on Bora, recognizing her as the tactical coordinator. Bora went down hard, stunned by an energy blast. The pack lost cohesion without her calls. Cal tried to anchor them, but the Vryn were too skilled. They worked in pairs, covering each other, rotating positions to prevent being flanked. When Teo charged aggressively, they were ready. A spear caught him in the shoulder, driving him back. Hana tried her speed attacks, but the Vryn had placed sensors that detected movement. They knew where she was before she struck. Rin and Sung were separated from the pack, pinned down by covering fire. This was disaster. The brood was being systematically taken apart by enemies who understood tactics as well as Daeho did. Daeho watched in horror. They were going to fail. After everything, they were going to die here. Then Minho did something brilliant. He let himself be captured. The youngest, the weakest, surrendered to the Vryn commander. The mercenaries took him, believing they had a hostage. They called out to the brood demanding surrender, but this was a trap. The brood had discussed this exact scenario during final training. Strategic sacrifice for tactical advantage. While the Vryn focused on their prisoner thinking they had won, the pack reformed in shadows. They had learned from the Vryn's own tactics using the environment for cover. When they struck, it was with everything they had. Coordinated from all directions simultaneously. Hana hit the sensors first, blinding them. Rin and Sung came from the tunnels, attacking from below. Cal smashed through their defensive line. Taiyo, ignoring his wound, drove through the center with pure aggressive fury, and Minho, the captured one, struck at the commander from point-blank range. The Vryn never had a chance. The battle was brutal, fast and decisive, 2 hours and 8 minutes. All Vryn defeated, but the brood had paid a price. Multiple injuries, exhaustion setting in. Teo's shoulder wound was serious. Sung could barely stand. Bora was dazed from the energy blast. Daeho looked at the twin moons. They were close to alignment now. Maybe an hour remained. Yurishin made a sound that might have been approval. They have done well. Better than I expected. But the final challenge remains. The floor of the arena opened. From the darkness below, something massive climbed out. An adult male predator, fully grown, scarred from many battles. His scales were dark gray, almost black. His eyes held cold intelligence and absolutely no mercy. An exile, Yurishin explained. Banished from the clans for killing his own matriarch. He has nothing to lose and everything to prove. He volunteered for this role because killing young ones in front of their elders is the ultimate revenge. Daeho felt ice in his veins. This was impossible. The brood was already injured and exhausted. They could not fight something like this. But the trial did not care about fairness. Below, the 7 young predators faced the exile. Their fatigue showed in every movement. Their injuries slowed them, but they stood together ready to face death as a pack. The exile smiled, cold and cruel. Then he attacked. She saved me to train her brood. Her smile was ice. By dawn, make them strong, or be their feast. The exile moved with speed that should not exist in something so large. He was faster than Hana, stronger than Cal, more experienced than all of them combined. This was what they would become if they survived. A fully realized apex predator. Cal charged first, the dominant one trying to protect his siblings through raw courage. The exile swatted him aside like he was nothing. Ribs cracked audibly. Cal hit the ice hard and did not get up immediately. Teo and Rin attacked together, coordinated flanking just as Daeho had taught. The exile saw the tactic instantly and countered it, disabling Teo's already injured shoulder with brutal precision. Rin barely dodged a strike that would have torn her head off. Hana used her speed, becoming a blur. The exile tracked her effortlessly, his experience making her velocity meaningless. He caught her mid-strike and threw her into a rock formation. She crumpled. Sung and Bora tried coordinated positioning using terrain advantages. The exile ignored terrain, simply smashing through their carefully planned approach. Sung took a massive hit and went down hard. Minho, the youngest, lasted exactly 43 seconds before being knocked unconscious by a casual backhand strike. 2 minutes into the fight, the brood was broken. Scattered across the arena, injured, some barely conscious, the exile had not even been challenged. He moved through them like a storm through grass. On the platform, Daeho stood frozen. This was not a fight. This was an execution. Everything he had taught them meant nothing against this level of power. Yurishin watched with her cold smile. "This is the real test," she said quietly. "Not whether they can win, whether they can think when facing certain death. That is what separates survivors from corpses." The exile moved toward Minho, the youngest, the weakest. "In predator logic, you eliminate the weak first." He raised his claws for a killing strike. Rin screamed. Not a battle cry, but a call signal. One of Daeho's communication codes. Even broken and bleeding, she remembered. The signal reached the others. Through pain and exhaustion, they heard it and understood. What followed was not a coordinated attack. It was organized chaos. They did not try to overpower the exile. They could not. Instead, they made him work for every movement. They scattered and regrouped constantly. They struck and retreated before he could counter. They used every trick, every environmental advantage, every lesson. When he pursued Hana, Teo struck from behind despite his ruined shoulder. When he turned to face Tayo, Bora attacked from the side. When he tried to corner them against the rocks, they led him onto thin ice. When he adapted to their patterns, they changed patterns. They made him bleed from 1,000 small cuts. They exhausted him. They turned his overwhelming strength into a liability, forcing him to burn energy chasing opponents who would not engage fully. The exile roared in frustration. This was not how young ones fought. This was not instinct. This was strategy. This was thought. He changed tactics, becoming more conservative, trying to isolate them one by one. But they had learned from the Vryn fight. They refused to be separated. Every time he cornered one, the others forced him to turn. Minutes passed. The exile was still dominant, still winning, but now he was working for it. His movement slowed slightly. His counters came fractionally slower. Cal recovered enough to rejoin the fight. Minho regained consciousness and crawled back into position. They were all wounded, all exhausted, but they kept moving, kept adapting. The twin moons drew closer to alignment. Time was running out. The exile knew it. He needed to end this before they survived through pure endurance. He made a decision. Ignore the others, kill the tactical thinker. He identified Bora as the one calling adaptive strategies and charged directly at her with murderous intent. Bora stood her ground, injured and exhausted. She could not outrun him, could not fight him directly, but she smiled, cold and calculating, an expression learned from watching her mother. "Now," she whispered. The entire brood collapsed on the exile from all directions simultaneously. This was not instinct or anger. This was perfect, practiced, ruthless tactical precision. Every position had been calculated over the past few minutes. Every movement had led to this exact moment. They had made him think he was hunting them when actually, they were positioning him for a kill strike, 7 against 1, wounded against healthy, young against experienced. But 7 minds working as one, coordinating, adapting, thinking 3 moves ahead. They drove him toward the frozen lake. The exile realized the trap too late. He tried to retreat, but they gave him no space. Hana cut off his escape with speed. Cal blocked his charge with immovable defense. Rin and Sung attacked his legs, forcing him onto unstable ice. When the ice cracked, they did not let him escape. They drove him through it into freezing water. Then they held him there using long poles they had prepared earlier from the arena's debris. They did not let him surface, did not let him breathe. It took 8 minutes of brutal, coordinated effort. 8 minutes of keeping a fully adult predator under ice water while he thrashed and fought. But they held position, held together, held until the thrashing stopped. The exile floated under the ice, finally still. Above, the twin moons touched, perfectly aligned. The trial was complete. Silence filled the arena. The watching matriarchs stood frozen in shock. Adult predators who had seen countless trials, who thought they knew what young ones were capable of. They had never seen anything like this. 7 juveniles broken and bleeding standing over the body of an adult exile, victorious not through strength or instinct but through thought and coordination, through adaptation and strategy, through everything Daeho had taught them. Urashin descended to the arena floor. The other matriarchs followed, their massive forms surrounding the victorious brood. This was the moment of ascension, when young ones became recognized warriors. Urashin approached each of her offspring. She marked them with ceremonial scars, ancient patterns that designated them as adult hunters. They stood still despite their injuries, accepting the marks with pride. When she finished, she turned to face the gathered matriarchs. "My brood has passed their trial," she said, her voice carrying across the frozen arena. They have shown not just strength but the ability to think, to adapt, to survive the impossible. They are warriors now. The other matriarchs acknowledged this with ritual gestures. Some looked impressed. Others looked concerned. A brood that thought this well was dangerous to traditional power structures. Daeho watched from the platform, feeling emotions he could not name. Pride, relief, exhaustion. These 7 predators had started as simple hunters. He had transformed them into survivors. That evening, after medical treatment and ceremonies, Urashin brought Daeho to his repaired ship. Her technicians had worked on it during the trial, making it better than before. Every system checked and improved. She stood before him in the ship's bay, towering and terrible as always. "You taught them to survive," she said. "Few trainers understand that strength without thought is just meat waiting to die. You made them more than predators. You made them thinkers. That is rare, valuable." Daeho looked up at her, this alien matriarch who had held his life hostage for 40 days. "Did you ever actually plan to let them kill me?" he asked. Her cold smile never changed. "Every day until the 20th I was certain you would fail. Like the others. I had already decided how to dispose of your body. And after I became curious. What would you create if given time? What could a human tactician teach my offspring?" The answer exceeded my expectations. "So this was all just an experiment to you?" "Everything is an experiment," Urashin replied. "Life, evolution, training. We try methods and see what survives. 6 trainers failed. You succeeded. That data is valuable." She turned to leave, then paused. "Other matriarchs will approach you. They saw what my brood became. They will offer you deals, threats, promises. Consider carefully which offers you accept." "I am done training predators," Daeho said firmly. "Perhaps," Urashin's smile widened slightly. "But are predators done with you?" She left him there with his ship and his thoughts. The brood came to say goodbye before he departed. 7 young predators now marked as adults, moving stiffly from injuries but alive and victorious. Cal stepped forward first. The dominant one had changed the most, learned the hardest lessons. He gave a human military salute, a gesture Daeho had shown them weeks ago. "You taught me that leading means thinking," Cal said. "I will not forget." Rin gave him a small piece of crystallized scale, something valuable in their culture. "You taught us curiosity has value, that questions are not weakness." Tayo simply nodded, the aggressive one offering respect through silence. Hana moved with her liquid grace to touch his shoulder, a sign of thanks in her species. Bora spoke quietly. "We will hunt well because you taught us to think. Every victory will be partly yours." Sung added, "May your path lead to worthy challenges, teacher." Minho, the youngest, looked at Daeho with those glowing eyes full of gratitude. "Will we see you again?" Daeho had no answer. He climbed aboard his ship without looking back. If he looked back, he might stay. And staying in this frozen world of deadly predators was not survival. He launched, leaving the ice moon behind. The twin moons separated in his viewport as he entered orbit,